You're listening to Mentoring Developers. I want to ask you if you think that people without degrees, do they have to come up with perhaps some other way of proving their credentials? Because, obviously, the obvious answer is if you can open source your stuff, put it on GitHub, let people know about it. Obviously, that's an avenue, but it's not available to most people because, the work is proprietary. So is there a way that people without degrees should sort of compensate? Is that certification? Is that the path?
I don't think so. It's funny. I have this conversation with my wife all the time because she comes from a family who is very big on education, and so conversation has actually come up a couple of times in the family. They all respect me, but like the fact that I don't have a degree, I think is kind of held against me a little bit. And I always have the conversation with them that it's not that I love education, like I love learning, right? I love knowledge and everything. It's just that formal going to college and getting a degree. I didn't see any value in it anymore, right? I wasn't learning the things that I wanted to learn. It wasn't benefiting me personally. It certainly wasn't benefiting me professionally. So why bother, right? I found other avenues to learn things. So as far as advice for developers, for new folks coming in and wondering if you should get a degree or not, I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to say yes, you should or no, you shouldn't. That's a personal decision. It involves a lot of variables and everything. What I can say is it hasn't been a problem for me. The fact that I don't have one, I kind of made light of the situation earlier that I do have some college. I was able to put, when they say, where did you go to college? I'm able to put a college on that line. So it's, I guess, better than blank, but I don't think I got really any value out of those 2 or 3, or I think I actually went to 4 years of college because I ended up with night classes and stuff, but I didn't really find much value there, right? So in other words, if I hadn't gone, other than not having that opportunity for that co-op, which was huge, that was the kickstart of my career, the college itself, I wouldn't, have missed anything from it. But I think especially what I can speak to is as a hiring manager, as a team lead, as a coach for developers coming in, what I look for intelligence, I look for passion, right? I look for analytical thinking, and I don't care what your degree is. I don't care what your background is. Honestly, the way that I interview is I look at your resume and I pick out buzzwords and I say, tell me about that, right? And I just have a conversation, right? And I want to hear how intelligent you speak, how analytical you are about problems. So where I'm at right now, we're big on Angular. We're writing Angular applications. And so clearly, that involves a lot of JavaScript, HTML, front-end knowledge, and I'm also bringing on some junior devs. And so junior or senior doesn't matter. When you come in the door, I don't care if you know Angular. I care if you are familiar with JavaScript, but I care even more if you're really passionate about web development and if you're intelligent enough to pick it up, right? And so I can gauge that. I can gauge passion and intelligence. I mean, sure, you could be tricked in an interview, but I can gauge passion and intelligence pretty well in a half-an-hour interview, right? And what's incredibly important is when I ask a question in an interview that when you don't know the answer, what is your answer, right? Do you make up an answer? Which to me, as a senior developer, I know the answer that I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking you. So if you make up an answer, I'm not really sure what you're going for there. Or do you just say, I don't know? Or, I don't know. That's interesting. I'd like to know what is the answer, right? Tell me. Like, use that as a learning experience. So, you can either pretend that you know everything, or you can admit that you don't know, at the very least, this question that's being asked, or you can turn it into a learning experience, right? Those are kind of the 3 avenues, or the approaches or the responses that I get. And of them, it's that learning experience, that learning impulse. Like, you're just looking for places to learn everywhere you go, even in an interview, right? You're so unashamed to admit that you don't know it that you're actually looking to turn this into a positive for yourself. And so, just as long as you're learning somewhere, and as long as you're passionate about what you do, as far as I'm concerned, certifications, college degrees, all of that stuff just doesn't matter in our world, right? It doesn't matter. It matters in those few examples that I gave you where it's actually come up in interviews and everything, but all that stuff blew right over. I actually have a funny story. I was in one interview pretty early on, actually, and he said, This is when I was still going to night school. I was still trying in earnest to get my degree because, I wanted it. I had paid so much money and put so much time in already. I wanted to just finish it. And so I told my prospective hire that I told him, he says, "Oh, you don't have a degree? You haven't finished?" And I said, "No, but I'm going to night classes. I'm planning on graduating the next year." And he says, "Oh, that's not going to affect your work, is it?" I said, no, don't worry about that. Right. That was his concern, that me going to college would actually affect my work. Right. So it just has not been an issue for me. And I haven't really seen it be a big issue for anybody that I've really talked about it with.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening.
For show notes and transcripts, visit us at mentoringdevelopers.com.